One of the things we talk about a lot in my program is how to generate sufficient clarity to be able to recognize and name the specific issue that we're having with English at that moment, especially in business settings, so that by addressing the specific ailment, we're able to disintegrate it. Disintegrate discomfort in English is another way of saying feeling more confident and fluent in English. Let me give you an example. If we think something like, okay, so what is the situation with my English right now? These are some common answers that people give me. They say things like, well, I don't have enough grammar, or I need more vocabulary, or I just don't feel fluent when I'm speaking in English, right? But none of these thoughts are helpful, even when they might be at least partially true. So what can we do? Well, stay with me as we go through what it might be better to focus on in the moment when we are interacting in English, either with native speakers or non-native speakers, especially in a business context and in a social setting. By this I mean a networking event, a conference, or even in a restaurant, for example, anywhere that's outside the business, the office setting. Hello, or hello again, and welcome to the channel. It's Tanya Meyer, founder of Confident English Training, operating at the intersection between efficient language acquisition and use, the practice of awareness raising, and cultivating joy, happiness, and well-being. What's not to love? Okay, so what to focus on with clients and business prospects? Well, the two major things that you need to focus on are rapport building and finding common ground. So rather than focusing on, my English is so poor and I'm tripping up on my words and this conversation is so awkward. I don't know if you've noticed that the more you focus on that, then the more awkward and uncomfortable it becomes, like not only for you, but for the person or the people you're speaking with. So deciding to shift your focus from the way that you're producing English to building rapport to whatever is happening at that moment is very important. And it's the reason why mindfulness training, that is training our mind to be more fully present with whatever we're doing, is part of what we do in my program, so that we can really be masters of ourselves. We can really not be carried away by all the worries and concerns of the moment and build the relationship that we want to build with the person or people that we're with. Because what you want is for the conversation to be natural, casual, relaxed, right? But if you're feeling, all judgmental, like, oh, this is a disaster, and that's what you're thinking, then that is what you are bringing to the relationship, to the interaction in that moment. But if you decide to focus more on the situation, on what is actually happening, then this is something that we can train ourselves to do. We can train ourselves to be more present, more calm and relaxed. And then when we cultivate this calm and relaxation, then it's a skill that is transferable to all areas of our life. So put very simply, this question of building rapport is actually crucial for business relationships because it involves establishing a genuine connection with your customers and prospects, and building a solid foundation of understanding and collaboration. Because what you're really doing when you invest in rapport building is inviting a wide range of benefits into the relationship. And all of these have wonderful effects, including, for example, building trust and credibility. Because when you build trust and credibility, you're making it easier for your customers to rely on you and on what you offer, whether it's a product or a service. You're also improving communication, because when you have effective and open communications, then you're better able to find solutions that are helpful to your client. Building rapport also helps you establish customer loyalty, because loyal customers feel valued. And when they feel valued, they're more likely to continue doing business with you. Rapport also creates a personalized approach, which enables a deeper understanding of individual preferences. And this leads to customized or tailored solutions for the client's specific needs. Building rapport also creates positive experiences, because positive experiences lead to long-term satisfaction. And building rapport also creates opportunities for growth, because these opportunities pave the way for collaborations, partnerships, and potential referrals. So, do you invest in building rapport with your clients and prospects? Comment below and give us an example of how this skill of rapport building has had a positive impact in your business. Okay, so now you might be wondering, yeah, well, that sounds wonderful, but how do I do that? How do I build rapport? How do I find common ground with my business clients and prospects? Well, the number one way of doing that is getting to know them a little bit better, is becoming interested in them and finding out as much as you can about them. And the best way of doing that is by asking questions. I already have a couple of videos that are a quick review of grammar structures for asking questions in English. They are how to structure questions in English and polite and professional. So you can find those later. But right now, let's look at concrete examples of questions that you can ask clients and prospects when you find yourself in social settings with them. So what I recommend that you do here is that you listen to the questions, and if there are any questions that you think, oh, hang on, I really like that, I want to use that, then just pause the video, go back a little bit, listen to it again, and this time have a pen and paper at hand so that you can actually write the question, each and every word of the question, and then listen to it a third time. You know, this is all about slowing down and taking this as an opportunity to rehearse. You know, this is like rehearsal. This is preparing yourself for that moment in the future when you're with this client and then you have the question, you know exactly what to say. The third time round, try and say the question together with me. So try and mimic the way that I ask the question exactly. Every word, notice tone, notice what words I stress, notice where I elide. Eliding just means where I skip over, where I connect. So try and mimic exactly how I ask the questions, especially if you are interested in using those questions yourself. Okay? So when we're in a social gathering, you might want to ask the person you're speaking with about their professional background, for example. So you can say, how did you get started in the industry? Or how did you get started in the whatever it is that you do industry? How did you get started in the pharmaceutical industry? How did you get started in the medical industry, in the engineering industry? Whatever your industry is, you can just ask them that. So how did you get started in the industry? Or you might want to make it even more interesting and say, what inspired you to pursue your career? So tell me, what inspired you to pursue your career? You can use this question, especially if you're talking with somebody who's a little bit older than you or much older than you, and that you find admirable, somebody that you want to learn from. People are so happy when you ask them questions about who they are and the choices they've made, and everybody wants to help each other. So a question like this can really open up a wonderful experience, a wonderful opportunity to get to know the other person and establish the connection you're looking for. Remember that what we're doing is we're asking open-ended questions so that the answer isn't yes or no. Questions that have, why or how or what are going to be much more conducive to the other person giving us an explanation or giving us more information. You might want to ask company-related questions like, what projects is your company currently working on? What projects is your company currently working on? How has your company adapted to recent industry trends? How has your company adapted to recent industry trends? What do you enjoy most about working for your company? You see, this gives the opportunity for the person to reflect and think about how much they enjoy their job. How wonderful to be speaking to someone who's interested in knowing what I love about my job. So the question is, what do you enjoy most about working for your company? Or you might want to focus on current trends in the industry and ask, what do you think are the most important trends shaping our industry? Or what do you think are the most significant trends shaping our industry? What do you think are the most significant trends shaping our industry? How do you see the future of whatever it is that you're talking about evolving? How do you see the future of this industry evolving? Another option is to ask them about their professional development. And you can say something like, have you attended any interesting conferences or events recently? Have you attended any interesting conferences, workshops, or events recently? Or you might ask them, how do you stay updated on industry news and advancements? And then they might give you some tips about, I read this magazine or I go to this website. And so at the same time as you're building rapport, you're also getting really juicy tips and suggestions and advice that can be helpful to you. You might even want to get a little bit more personal and ask them something like, what's the most valuable piece of professional development advice that you've ever received? What's the most valuable professional development advice that you've ever received? Or you can ask them about their opinion. You can ask them for advice. Who doesn't like giving advice? With a question like, do you have any tips for effective networking at events like these? Do you have any tips for effective networking at events like these? I remember my father told me when I was a young businesswoman that the best thing to do was to collect as many business cards as I could. Of course, I also handed out my business card, but what he said is, no, you collect as many business cards as you can and pay attention to the person you're speaking with and look at the card and then look back at the person and memorize, make sure that you know what card belongs to who. And then before you go to bed at night, make sure that you go through all your cards, write the date, write the event that you're at, and write one or two things, but at least one thing that you remember about that person. You know, it makes such a difference. And this piece of advice that my father gave me all those years ago has been so helpful, because people really appreciate it when you remember them, or when you remember something that they said to you. So when you are speaking with someone and they give you a piece of advice, then listen, and who knows, maybe someday in the future you'll meet again, or maybe you'll start doing business very soon, and you can let them know that you remember what they said and that you appreciate the advice they gave you. A few other questions to ask for advice include: what are some networking strategies that have worked well for you? Are there any specific people or organizations that you recommend I connect with? Are there any specific people or organizations that you recommend I connect with? Depending on the situation, you might want to ask about work-life balance. The topic of wellness and mental health is also incorporated into my Confident English training program. So make sure you check out the links in the description box below to find out how a training like this can help you really experience more calm and relaxation in situations where you're interacting in English. But of course, in all life situations as well. But you might want to ask, how do you manage to maintain a healthy work-life balance? How do you manage to maintain a healthy work-life balance? Do you have any favorite ways to unwind after a busy work week? Do you have any favorite ways to unwind after a busy work week? What's your approach to managing stress in a demanding job? What's your approach to managing stress in a demanding job? Something else you might want to focus on is your clients' or prospects' personal interests. And you can ask questions like, and outside of work, what are some of your hobbies or interests? Do you have any favorite books, movies, or podcasts you'd recommend? Do you have any favorite books, movies, YouTube channels, YouTubers, or podcasts you'd recommend? And then you can recommend this channel. What do you enjoy doing in your free time? What do you enjoy doing in your free time? Depending on the situation, you might also want to focus, or you might want to open up a little bit and talk about challenges and successes. You might want to ask, what are some of the challenges you faced in your career? And how did you overcome them? What are some of the challenges you faced in your career and how did you overcome them? Can you share a memorable success or achievement in your professional journey? Can you share a memorable success or achievement in your professional journey? How do you handle setbacks and bounce back from failures? How do you handle setbacks and bounce back from failures? Now, remember that if you're going to ask this kind of question, you need to listen actively to the response. That means paying attention to what they're saying, so that you can use these opportunities to find common ground and areas of shared interest. These questions can definitely help you build meaningful connections in business social settings. What do you think? Which of these questions resonate more with you? Which ones will you be implementing next time you're interacting with business clients and prospects? I'd love to hear from you, so do post a comment below and let us know which of these questions you found the most helpful. And remember to check out the links about my ongoing English training program. And if you're ready to take your English to the next level, then there's a link there for you to apply. Just pick a day and time that suits you to meet up on Zoom and talk about where you are now and where you want to be. There's also a link where you can download my 30-page How to Revolutionize Your English free guide with audio that's packed with ideas, suggestions, and tips that you can put into practice straight away. I hope you liked this video and that you found it helpful. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Take very good care until then. Bye for now.